Solomon had all this wealth. Everything you want, he had. His wealth was probably more like Jeff Bezos and Musk put together. So he was a superstar. For him, though, to write this and say, it's like chasing the wind, like it was meaningless. Why would he even say that after having all the average person think they would need? Hey, welcome to Today for Tomorrow podcast. Once again, it's Mike and myself rolling together. Martell, like I say, still handling his business, but he will be back. He will be back definitely. He might be back sooner than we know. We don't know. So look, today we want to talk about this topic. I know a lot of us have heard some of these things. We heard of Solomon, how much money he had. I mean, he was the richest. I mean, when you think about it, he's the richest individual ever. Yeah. Okay. But I want to read something from the book of Solomon. Actually not the book of Solomon, but Ecclesiastes, which Solomon is attributed to writing in chapter 1 in verse 14. We're probably going to be referring to a number of verses during this podcast. So get up on your Bible a little bit. It's good for us to do that.
Take some notes.
There you go. Take some notes. So we're looking at chapter 1, Ecclesiastes, verse 14. It says, I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. So man, we want to talk about chasing the wind. In this case, Solomon had all this wealth, all this wisdom, everything you want he had. Mm-hmm. But then he says it's like chasing after the wind. So Mike, just when you hear that, man, I mean, what comes to mind initially?
Yeah, so this is a great chapter. Like I highly advise everyone to go spend some time with it because, like Pastor Rodney was saying, Solomon he wasn't like a regular guy. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that I once heard someone put it where your access to excess is really going to determine the type of man that you are. Because
you need to say that again. Write that down.
Yeah, your access to excess is really the determination of what type of man you are and what type of maturity level you've acquired. Because, if we wanted to fast forward Solomon's time into today's world, we would have to say like a LeBron James or something where you're young, but you're a multi-millionaire. You have the fame, you have the wealth, you have everything in regards to worldly possessions. But at the same time, if your foundation isn't right, mm-hmm. you're going to go through a lot of heartache. Yeah. And this is something that in Solomon's case, we've seen this. We saw him start very early on a great path. Like earlier it said, when God asked Solomon, what would be your one wish to have? Solomon asked for wisdom, and God was pleased with that. He gave him wisdom. He was known as the wisest man to ever walk the earth. And if you see his early path, you can see a lot of situations where he displayed that wisdom. But the thing is, if you look at Solomon's life in totality, he was a human. He was a man, and a part of some of his decision making, in my mind, I think he got a little too smart for his britches. Because he started, towards the end, he took God out of it, and he tried to make his own decisions based on, political strategies and what he felt like was going to increase him. And that's when he started kind of falling down.
He did. And we're going to get into some of that too, because the women played a part in that as well too. And the thing that I guess to look at with this is that what you kind of laid out, the great summary of Solomon, and fast forward, maybe LeBron age, but one thing I will throw out there, his wealth was probably more like Jeff Bezos and Musk put together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He had money like that.
Status,
yeah, but he had superstar status like LeBron James. Yep. Yeah, so I think, but for him though, to write this and say, it's like chasing the wind, like it was meaningless, all that stuff. So he had wisdom. I mean, look, let's break down everything he had. He had wisdom. He had all these women, which, okay, look, I'm married, Mike's married, we love our wife, we don't need but the one woman God gave us. But the world tells you, hey, that's a sign of this, you just the man. He was the ultimate playboy in a sense. He had properties all over the place. He built all type of stuff. Like Mike was breaking down, people coming to him, asking him, kings and all that, queens coming to ask him for advice. So on the surface, he was like a huge influencer, right? Mm-hmm. So he was a superstar. So, but why would he say everything is meaningless? Why would he say all that meant nothing, like it was chasing the wind? Now, you and I both know. They might not know. But that's what we want to kind of break down a little bit. Why would he even say that after having all what the average person think they would need?
I think because he's a person that's uniquely qualified to be able to give that distinction. Most of us, we're on the other side where, we kind of imagine having all this access. We want the wealth, we want the power, we want the fame because we imagine what we can do with it. And a lot of times it's not even necessarily bad. It's you could be, I can create the ultimate mentorship or I could do something great. But the whole thing is a blessing too soon is not a blessing at all. Mm-hmm. And for most of us, we're not ready to handle that type of capacity. So going back to Solomon's statement, it's like chasing after the wind in the sense where you can accomplish all of these earthly possessions and still just feel empty, because if you imagine someone chasing the wind, you can never grab the wind. You can never fully attain the wind. It's like you're going to be constantly chasing after something. And to me, every time I read this scripture, I always think about that. Like, what are the true trophies in life? Is it something that we acquire or is it something that's within us? Because, a lot of times, and we've heard this saying, we know it's cliche, but it really is a true statement where the journey really is the treasure. It's not going to be any pot of gold at the end of any rainbow for us, unlike what we see on TV. It's really not. Like, we have to find our daily trophies with the small things that we do and accomplish every day.
I think not having all that, and you started out by saying Solomon's uniquely qualified to tell us because he had it all. And for someone that doesn't have it, and a lot of people, we're not there, but the point though is that when I talk about money or success, the way the world qualifies it, often you think that's gonna fix all your problems. If I had more money, man, I would have my problems go away. And I think, was it Biggie said, more money, more problems? Mm-hmm. That's the reality. Solomon's kind of saying that in some ways too. He got everything. And not having that foundation, not knowing what you that journey you was talking about. Because you can go on a journey, but if you don't know where you're going, you can't enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you don't know why you're taking it, you're doing it begrudgingly, And I think a lot of times that journey that you're talking about, all of us are on some type of journey, but people don't embrace it because they don't know where they're going and they don't have no set destination. And that's because, and let's go to, y'all all know we Christians, right? So the point is that we know God is the one setting the path for us, right? He's given us our purpose. So as we walk that journey, we doing what he called us to do, whatever vision he's given us in our careers, in our businesses, and ministry, whatever, you kind of know. And then so as you go, you like, oh, we were talking about it earlier, how, man, I remember 2 years ago, I was here, man, now God's brought me here. And you reflect back on that and those, those I wouldn't call them trophies, but those successes that God gave you, look back on like, oh, wow, that's cool. You don't put them on a shelf, but you kind of put them in your spirit like, it was, that was all right,
Another piece that's really interesting about Solomon's life and his story, I love studying the early beginnings of his life because it's very much aligned with legacy. If you think about it, where King David, who's Solomon's father, he set Solomon up for success. And, even to the point where his most trusted soldiers and generals, they went on to serve Solomon. If Solomon had to start from ground zero and he didn't get any of that preliminary foundation laid for him, he may not have been able to just hit the ground running the way he did. So it's important for us to understand that we have to study the history and give honor and homage to those that came before us to set the standard. But it's two sides to this coin. You know, on the one hand, David set him up for success in business because another thing was Solomon was a real estate developer.
Yeah, he was.
And this was originally King David's idea, right, but it came to fruition through Solomon. Mm-hmm. He was able to accomplish that thing. But the flip side to that coin is one of the ailments that we saw in King David's great life, because he lived an amazing life, but the lust monster, you seen it kind of, it's almost like it was never corrected with Solomon, but it was amplified.
Yes, it was. Let's talk about the amplification. I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah.
So understand, he had 700 concubines and I think 300 wives. So he had over 1,000 women. 1,000. Wrap your head around that. So go ahead.
I think flip. I think
it might be
700 wives.
Well, I thought he had more concubines.
You might be right though. Yeah, but it was a lot.
Y'all take it. It was too many. It's too many.
It's too many though. And so the reason why I thought it was interesting to know is because these are the things that we have to understand with our future generations. And we talk about this a lot because we're actively refining our mentorship constantly. We're very conscious of the blueprint that we're setting for the future generation. And the reality was, some of the things that we were exposed to, some of them were good, but some of the things that we learned from, but we didn't necessarily want to repeat in the future generations. And this is an example of, it's good that came from that, but it's also an opportunity to evaluate where you want your life to go and set your pace. Because in Solomon's situation, because he had so many different wives and concubines, he had so many different voices of influence. And this started to play out in his decision-making. They brought different customs, different rituals, and they were worshiping other gods. So it took Solomon's focus off the one thing that truly made him successful was staying in tune with God.
Yep. And by the way, you were right. 700 wives. So you was on point, 300. See, that's why you got to read the Bible for yourself. That's why we check each other, right? So cool. But now, you man, Mike, you laid it out because and hear what he's saying, y'all. So, and don't misstate this and go look at your wife different or look at your husband different. But the point, though, he's making with how the wives impact us all. For one, you're going to say, why did God allow him to marry? Look, God don't stop us from sinning. He didn't, basically, that didn't make it right. So when Solomon did that, like Mike stated, and just think about the influence of people around you, whether it be girls you dated, whether it be even your wife, or in some people's cases, women watching your husband. You influence each other. So if you got a wife who is focused on God and going to church and doing the right thing, that's going to come over on you. If you got a husband that's focused on God and doing the right thing and following God and studying the word, that's going to influence that husband's wife. But the opposite's true too. And that's the point. So Solomon had all these pagan women, and like Mike said, getting them off course. So let's talk about that for a minute. When we talk about chasing the wind and all that, people can get us off course and make us think that these things of the world is gonna, look at all these people on influencers. Hey, get paid, get rich. Man, somebody was at the watching the game. Somebody was talking about this one cat. I think Jason, whatever his name is, a scam artist. He got everybody investing, trying to bring back Tulsa, recreating the Tulsa Wall Street, like Tulsa Investment or whatever it's called. Oh. And he had all these individuals, investing money, and he's buying property in Tulsa, and they all feel like they're part of it. It was a big scam.
Wow.
But it was about getting rich though.
Yeah.
Get rich quick.
Yeah.
And everybody, quick to do it because they're chasing the wind.
Right. And it's real, man. So, you know, follow us as we go down this journey, because, you know, the thing about the word is it's a timestamp, but it gives us examples of every attribute that we have as humans today. That's why we talk about the word as it is, but we bring it into what it could look like in today's circumstances. Another point to mention is the fact that Solomon, once he acquired all of this success, these riches, and once he got off track, his decisions didn't just stay with him. It affected his whole bloodline, his whole lineage, whereas he literally changed the course of his bloodline for generations to come, because he didn't do right. He wasn't disciplined. And the reason why I think this is extremely important, where I tell people all the time, we're in the generation of change. And a lot of times we look at it where, you know what, we're having to educate our kids. We're having to be emotionally stable. We're having to be, you know, tough, but we got to be understanding. We got to tell them what to do, but we got to listen to what they say, where a lot of times our parents they didn't do that.
No.
It was, you know, you want to listen to what we say, because you the kid. Kids are meant to be seen, not to be heard. And that's just the way it was. You know, so we're having to add tools in real time that we were not given. And is it fair? Probably not, but it is what it is. We're a part of the generation of change, and if we don't make the right decisions, this is going to have ramifications for future bloodlines. But the good news is we got choices in this. We can do something that's going to positively affect our whole generation to come, and you know, your grandkids, or your grandnephews and nieces, they can look back and say, you know what? This changed everything. And so now I just want to keep that momentum going.
And you hit it, because I liked how you talked about, you know, there's always repercussions when we do the wrong thing. And there's, when we do the right thing, you get the fruit that comes from that. But Solomon, and just to kind of piggyback off what you said, what happened after Solomon, he set that whole bad roadmap into place, and his son came along and became king, and made some unwise decisions, right? Because he didn't have the great model. And what people might not know or know, when you talk about Israel as a king, that king, what he did caused Israel to be separated. You had the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, which you hear about, you see in the Bible sometimes. But that Solomon's son was the one that happened under, because he gonna cause us putting his foot on the people even more so. Whereas Solomon's advisors, going back to how you talk about how David left a sound group of individuals for Solomon, and Solomon had wisdom and listened to him, talking about respecting those who were older again. And then I think it was then you talk about Solomon's son, who come into play. Now, Solomon's advisors were there for him too. And they told him, man, you know, you need to let up a little bit. But no, who he go to? He go to his boys.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because as you're saying it, I'm thinking back on the story myself. And you're absolutely right. He had wise counsel that was put in place for him. But like you said, after he had the wisdom from the elders, he went back and he said, you know what, let me go to my friends, the young people. And they told him the complete opposite, said, no, come in there, establish your dominance, you know, basically put your foot on their neck. And then that caused a huge ramification down the line. And it could have been avoided if he would have just heeded the wisdom. Because wisdom is only good if you listen to it. And we talk about this a lot, where we see individuals, I don't want to say just young individuals, because it can be old fools out here too. Just young ones. You know, so the whole thing is wisdom is only good if you heed it. If you listen to the wisdom, shake your head, smile, and then you turn, walk out the door and do something completely opposite, you have to be able to live with your choices.
And it's wasted. And so, I think one thing, and I'm not saying this because I'm older, but the point, like the son who came along from Solomon, who didn't listen to those elders who were there, he went to his crew who didn't have the experience that they had.
Right.
So there's something to be said about, respecting those who kind of been there. And I think that's one of the things when you talk about wisdom and how you laid it out, I think it was perfect. But that's all part of chasing the wind. Because when you go after your advice that don't have, the stripes or the knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful, because trust me, the wind, you don't know what direction to come in, which direction to go. You need to go after something that's more firm and been proven.
Yep.
And that's where I'm trying to get to when you talk about individuals that's been there before. If I want to know about real estate, and I come talk to you, I know you've done it, you in it.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like I was talking about the one guy who was talking about Tulsa, the Tulsa scheme that he had. So this cat, he talks about doing it,
Mm-hmm.
but he ain't never done it. But then he got all these people who they trying to go in and invest, but they haven't done their homework. You want to talk to somebody who done what you're trying to do and been successful at what you're trying to do, because chasing the wind is going after somebody that's just flashing the dollars up in front of you and you follow them.
Right. And one quick little tip on how to differentiate who's who is ask questions and then just be quiet. Let them talk, and really truly listen, because the more that people talk, they're going to reveal who they truly are and what they truly know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people will bail other people out. They'll kind of jump in when they feel that awkward silence or awkward pause.
Mm-hmm.
I would invite you to just, when you ask an open-ended question and from somebody that's supposed to be an expert, allow them to just take you down that path, because someone that has their 10,000 hours in a certain area, they can take you through their path because they've actually have the memory database.
Yep.
Someone that's trying to create something or maybe have done a little bit of something at a certain point, their knowledge is going to run out.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when you really find out what's going on. And there's nothing wrong with this. The only time that this becomes potentially malicious is when they deem themselves as an expert or they're giving expert advice, but they haven't vetted enough situations and they're telling other people to go down these roads.
Yeah.
That's when it can become potentially dangerous. But we always recommend you have to do your own due diligence. Don't take anything somebody says just at face value without doing your own research.
Yeah.
Even when we're talking, go back and check the references.
Yeah.
Go read Solomon's story. Like you come back with your own designation of your thoughts based on what you read.
Yeah. And I like the way what you said, because it's funny. We believe in technology. We was talking about ChatGPT.
Mm.
Powerful tool, very helpful in a lot of ways. But one thing we both was talking about is when you do something in ChatGPT, you need to check what it brought you back. And the thing with this is the same thing. We got to check. That's what you talk about.
Yeah.
That whole listening. You kind of like you listening for, okay, do you know what you're talking about for real?
Yeah. Does this make sense?
Does it make sense?
Does this make
And that's the whole thing when, in life, if you chasing money or you chasing material things, you chasing influence, you got to ask yourself, do it make sense?
Yeah.
Because you can get everything you running after, which Solomon did. But he said it was meaningless and nothing because it lacked God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We've seen a bunch of examples of, people on a rise to stardom, and then at a certain point, they just crash out.
Mm-hmm.
We see it play out all the time in the media, and it really is sad to see, because some of these people are extremely talented in certain areas. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I've noticed is whenever you're extremely uniquely talented in one area, it's almost like it's a deficiency in another.
Yeah.
It could be like just common sense.
Yeah.
Because I've seen, artists where you put them on a saxophone or whatever they're doing, and you're like, man, this is amazing. but they may not have the other skills that we would, deem as just common everyday things. Because, and my theory has always been, God has a way of always balancing things out,
I like that theory, because we all part of the body. So it's like, hey, you gotta have different pieces of the body with different gifts, right?
Yeah.
So I hear you on that, and your example was a good one, because that person can like be brilliant on the saxophone, but they shouldn't play the piano.
Yeah.
Or they brilliant on the saxophone, but you know what? They're not one that you're gonna put up in front of a group of people and do public speaking.
Exactly.
So, but the challenge comes in though when individuals can be brilliant in one area and they think they're brilliant in every area.
100%. And I know we kind of get into that time where we got to kind of wind this thing on down. But I would say, because we always try to give our people something specific that they can take as a tool, and then they can just go build with that. If, us talking about Solomon's story and the Ecclesiastes, but what's like that one or two things that you would recommend to the people that they take and they build upon?
I think they take what, and at the very end of Ecclesiastes, that's what Solomon talks about, the fact that God is the key. And my thing, you got to understand why are you fighting for something? Why do you want to be rich?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want success in business? And that's the first question you got to ask yourself. And if it's about self, if it's about you getting like seen, if it's about you being the woman or the man who everybody want to come to, you're already in a bad place, because it's about self. It's all selfish. It's all selfish desires. And that means that God is totally out of it.
Yep.
Now, if it's about, hey, you know what? I believe this is my purpose in life. I believe I can help people. I got talent. I can use this to help other people. And that don't mean that God won't make you filthy rich. That don't mean that. It means that you won't make the money your God. So those are, to me, the easiest things to understand is like, why do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
And where does God fit in? And if you don't have God in your life to start with, you don't care about what we're talking about. You're just going, but even those individuals, I'm gonna warn you, because you're gonna have an empty void, because you're gonna keep wanting more. Why do billionaires want more money? Because they haven't filled that void, and they never will.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good info. I think for me, in addition to, God is number one. In addition to having God, keep wise counsel around you and take heed to the wisdom that because a lot of times God will show you some answers through your environment. Mm-hmm. It could be through other people verbally, or it could just be circumstances. And one thing that I love about Men 2.0 is the fact that we have men in their ages 75 all the way down to 19 years old. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is the ultimate design for circulating good information, because you need the wisdom from the men that have been and seen certain things, but then we also need the energy and ideas from the younger men. And we need to basically put it all on the table in a trusted environment, and we make sure that we're covering each other's blind spots. So who you keep around you is critical. And for young men and women though, your spouse, who you choose for your spouse is paramount. It's going to be paramount in your life, because like we were talking about earlier, if you have the right person next to you that you're talking to day in and day out, it's not going to seem like any problem you can't overcome. It's not going to be anything that comes up that you two together can't overcome. Mm-hmm. But if you have the wrong person with you, everything that comes up is going to feel like it's going to break you.
Yeah.
Like it's no other way to put it. So those are the two tidbits that I would give to people as we kind of bring this thing going home. But before we get out of here, tell us about what we do on Sundays.
Hey man, Sunday we're at Freedom in Christ Ministry, 28202 Franklin Road. That's where we hold service. So if you're in the Metro Detroit area, come check us out Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. We're right here where we're filming today, and we have service, and we talk about what God means, who he is. We come straight from the word. And as Mike was talking about, we understand what our true purpose is. And we're not chasing the wind, we're chasing God. So come out and check it out, worship with us.
Yep. And in the same building where we're at right now, every second Saturday of every month, we have Men's 2.0. So if you're a man or you know some solid men that need to get in an environment to build, have them come check us out. It's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we also have Lift for the ladies on the first Saturday of every month.
Okay, and that, come on out, check it out. But before we go, see, because Mike, he don't talk about himself too much. I want to tell you a little bit about this shirt he's wearing because it got a meaning and a purpose.
Yes, sir. So this is a clothing line that me and my business partner, Evan Faye, have launched. We're both real estate developers in our day-to-day trade, but we're also men of the community. And we love giving back. We want to recirculate some of the knowledge and information that we've been privy to. So that geared us to launch Block Detroit. So BLCK, which stands for Building Legacy, Cultivate Knowledge. We have a lot of cool stuff coming out. The website will be available soon. So stay tuned for the announcements.
Hey, with that, man, that concludes our segment today. And if you on YouTube, I know you probably already subscribed. But if you have not subscribed yet or you're not sure you subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, you're notified when we got new episodes on Today for Tomorrow. But hey, stay tuned. The gang will be back. Martell will be back. Understand all of us got businesses going on. We got stuff going on. So there'll be times we're not here, but hey, we are always a team.
Yeah, so we committed to doing this regard. That's another thing we want you to understand, that we honor our commitments, even when it's not always the easiest thing to do. We make sure that the podcast still goes on because we're committed to you guys.
Yes, true. Hey, I think that's the best way to end it because it is about making sure we get the word out there.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, peace to everyone.
Peace.